At this time, we'll call the Tuesday, September 20th, 2022 meeting of the Jackson County Board of Supervisors to order. Larry McDevitt, Mike Steinis, and myself are your county supervisors. We have Lisa Smith and Lauren Beck from the auditor's office, and Luann Goki, our administrative assistant, and Mary Ann Hayward is here from the news media. And I guess Cam AQ is on the Zoom. So first item on our agenda is Todd Kinney, our Jackson County engineer. Good morning, Todd.
Morning. Okay, first item is to talk about the fiscal year 2022 dump truck award cost increases. So I'm assuming you have a little bit of history or background on this, but so we got bids in April of 2021. Bids awarded to Peterbilt, and then obviously that's when all the delivery, supply chain delivery issues came into play. And it's not uncommon to have issues, cost increases, surcharges. We had that almost on every piece of equipment we bought too in Clinton County. But so, and then in December of 2021, they came back with a cost increase of $15,638 per truck. They contacted Jackson County here recently and said that they were experiencing another cost increase of $21,877 per truck.
On top of the 15?
On top of the 15.
Oh my God.
And then with delivery of April or June of next year. So we went back and I had staff reach out to the other bidders on that. And obviously we asked the question, the next low bidder, would you be able to supply trucks at the price you quoted? What was the delivery date? And that was a no, and we couldn't tell you when we could deliver new trucks. Probably the earliest they would be 2024 is what International said. So the choice is we're going to get, so the trucks we bid for fiscal year 23 through MAC was awarded to MAC. We hit that truck. There's so many windows, so many slots they get to build trucks. So we hit that timing right. We hit that truck slot. They're being built for us. Those are supposedly going to come this December. So we're waiting for trucks we ordered in fiscal year 22 for 22. So the option is no, we don't do it. We don't buy trucks for 22. And then we go through our normal equipment purchase quoting process. We take quotes in February when we order those trucks. What I'm hearing from the industry is we won't get those until the following spring or summer of 24. So basically that puts us 2 trucks off almost a year and a half because we're waiting even longer than we would for trucks we're going to get in 24. The other option is we buy those, we pay the cost increase, and we get 2 more trucks. We get the trucks we need. So, I mean, in all honesty, I mean, it's kind of the choice is, do you want to buy 2 trucks? Because more than likely when we quote these trucks again for 24, the cost is not going to be any less than what we're looking at.
I don't really think we have a choice to.
No, I don't think you have a choice at all. The choice is, do you want to get 2 trucks to replace your fleet or don't? Because if you say no, they're just going to give these trucks.
Yeah, somebody else will buy them.
Yeah.
And I think we just need to bite the bullet and buy them.
They did.
We don't need to get a couple years behind on that.
Right. And like, I just don't see the price. I don't think there's any advantage of waiting and saying we're going to requote them in February and just bite the bullet and not have our trucks get a year and a half older on the cycle, thinking you're going to save money in 24 because you won't. They did increase the trade value of our one trade by $1,750, which was nice, I guess. But,
So I don't guess why would we go get bids if the bids ain't no good anyway? Or don't we go into a contract with them and say, hey, this is what we bid them for. This is what you said you'd sell them for. Don't you buy the material now or whenever we sign this contract? And you say, if I'm the supplier, I say, well, I have to buy this stuff now at the cost that I told them, and they just come back every year and raise the price. What, we
So
don't have no,
the purchase agreement you have is not worded like a contract, like you're thinking with a contractor, like a bridge contractor or a road contractor, where it's a set price, unit price. It's not worded like that. So they do allow surcharges based on materials in their purchase order. Again, it's if we say we don't want the trucks, they're not
I
gonna.
get it, but we just don't have.
Yeah,
we
but
don't
the whole
really have
thing
a
is
set-
it's such unusual circumstances that we're all going through.
Yeah, I would say, I mean, I don't know for sure, but I mean, the market is, the demand is so high that you're basically at the mercy of the supplier, kind of. So the choice is to wait. But again, waiting, I don't think is gonna,
It's just gonna cost more.
yeah.
Mhm.
I will say, Peterbilt was significantly less price. I could get the bid tab, I got it on my desk, but the next low was, I think they were, I'm gonna grab that, I don't want to give you the wrong number. That's one thing nice about being this close.
Yeah.
There's also bad things too.
Yeah, sure. 17 and then another 21,000.
That's what I was like, so I was trying to figure out, so the first price increase was 17, that's 34, and now 15, the first price increase was 15, that's 30, and now another, was it
21.
21?
$37,515 increase per truck. You have to take off the 1750.
37,000, what was it?
What year trucks are these when we get them then?
So they're gonna be
2 years old?
2024 trucks. What we quoted initially was 2022 trucks. So Peterbilt was, their quote, was 103,918. But what really set them apart overall was their trade values for the two trades we're turning in. So the next low was one, so after the trades for two trucks, we were paying 134,253. The next low was 173,000, so they were, almost $40,000 less than the next low bidder, so.
So it's still less.
Well, not really, not with the increase, but, because this is per truck,
Oh, okay.
this is total,
Okay.
so we're gonna be slightly over. So the reason I wanted to bring this to the board's attention is that we're committing 24 funds now, right? So what we budget in 22 is not gonna be spent because the delivery is April, June. It's gotta go to the body contractor that puts the body and plow and all that on. And then we get the truck delivered, which will be after July 1. So we're committing fiscal year 24 funds.
So our plow is not gonna be the same either, I'm guessing.
It went up 10,000.
Yeah, that would be a
The
safe,
bid went up
safe bet.
10,000 from the year before.
Yeah.
Yeah, 90 to 99,000 or something like
But
that.
I can't imagine that 22 bid is gonna be good in 24.
No, not unless they purchase the equipment then, but I'm
Well,
gonna
that's what I'm getting at. I, as a seller, said that I committed to these two trucks. I have to buy the equipment for these two trucks or have these,
Well, it's a little different for the plows. They may have that stuff in inventory.
Yeah.
There's no trucks in inventory.
but they're not gonna be the same design. I'm sure the trucks ain't the same, they're gonna change. over
But where the
time.
plow goes in the body, the box itself won't be that big. That's not gonna change that much. The cab and chassis axle dimensions are gonna be the same. It's just for the trucks, the cab and chassis hasn't been built yet, so you're paying for it when it comes off the line. It's not like they got cab and chassis sitting in the parking lot.
Too bad they don't.
Well, I mean, it's a world,
515.
it's a world pandemic. They shut down that stuff for well over a year where nothing is built. I mean, it's gonna take forever to get caught up.
Well, to me, like you said, I don't think you really have much of an option.
No.
You can say you're not gonna get them and you'll be a year and a half behind on the cycle, plus you'll probably pay more for the two trucks you could have had right now.
I mean, we're already behind
Yeah,
because we didn't get the trucks.
I just don't think you're gonna save any money by saying, no, we don't want them. That's the
I
bottom
don't know
line.
how we could say no.
We need a motion for that. It's,
Yeah.
I move
Sure.
To approve.
I would second.
The motion is second and proceed with the purchase. All those in favor? Aye. Motion carried.
Okay,
That cuts into our ending fund balance.
That's good.
Not for the.
Yeah, well,
It adds to
I
our
guess
ending fund may.
Not this year, it won't. but
Yeah, but I mean, you didn't spend the money in 22, so that's gonna roll over.
It'll cut it down to 24. So the next question when we get to budget cycle is, do you want a budget for our normal 2 trucks we should be getting in 24? So then it would double our truck budget. So then it would cut back in 24.
That would make sense.
Because we wanna, you don't wanna, well, that's the question. Do you want a budget to buy your normal trucks in the cycle you should be buying it in 24? So you're gonna fund the trucks from 22 and 24 and the trucks you're gonna buy in 24.
You gotta guess how much we're gonna budget there?
It's gonna be more than this.
It's gonna change it.
I think we have to.
Yeah, I think if, otherwise you're gonna fall behind and.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
If you start trucks breaking down and, I mean, that's just wasted money.
Well, and you know,
The trade goes down too, everything drops.
More
You know,
mechanical problems.
wintertime
everything else.
operations is a major function for the secondary road department. So that's one thing the public, you know, the expectations are pretty high. And I don't think you want to be in a situation where you don't have the equipment to do that.
Amen.
We always have at least one spare, correct?
You should. I'd have to see what you guys have total inventory, but you should have more than like 2 or 3 spares.
It's a little bit like squad cars. Look what we've paid for squad cars now.
Mhm.
Really paid.
Everything in general.
Did you guys voted on that already?
Yeah.
Yep.
All right, so next is there's 2 driveways. One for Larson, that's a class D field entrance, the site distance is fine. And then the other one is for
Ed Collins.
Collins, and that one is an existing field entrance. That they're gonna upgrade and widen, so they're gonna actually get a 911 address for that location, so in that site distance, it's
Was that a,
Excellent.
was that a class D also?
the first one,
The first one was class D, the second one?
gonna be a class C farm.
C farm.
Recommended for approval.
Second.
So more.
Okay. A motion and a second to approve the entrance permits for Larson's and Brandon. All those in favor, or
Aye.
Collins? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carried.
Don't really have anything else for you.
I've had some positive comments on the rumble strips that were put in.
Okay.
For 308, yeah, they got
Yeah. I don't remember the cost of that. I was asking.
it's like $1,800.
Well, that's right. I told him $2,000. He says, holy cow. I said, you can load the equipment for 500.
That's true, you're not gonna load up and get there for anything
No.
less than 800 to a grand.
That's some positive comments on it.
Good. I gotta respond to the DOT about our QAQC inspection that the DOT came for our bridges, so that'll be easy. We got some things we gotta take care of through the next inspection cycle. And then I gotta go inspect 10 bridges that Alex did as oversight for him as part of the quality control. And 2 of those will have to be, he has to come with me as we go inspect one, so I'll be doing that probably next week. That works in his schedule. And patching, I think they were gonna start this week on E17. The Z40 job for miles down the county line, that's cold in place is all done. That'll sit there through a drying period. And they're gonna probably trying to start paving the side roads next week and then go into mainline after that, so.
Is there rumble on the side of them or in the middle? No.
That'll have center line and edge line rumble, I believe, yes. That's safety money. You guys got some more safety.
I get it. I get it. Yeah, we missed out on that. The one to Preston, south of Preston there.
You want to what?
We didn't get it on the south, that when we overlaid south of Preston or from Preston down.
Yeah, so I mean, when I need to look at your 5-year program and then roads some roads you can't do it with. Depending on the type of work you're gonna do, the type of improvement, but most of them you can.
Well, obvious from Clinton County down that's got it. When we overlaid ours, we didn't do it.
I wonder why.
Okay, that's all I have.
Thanks, Todd.
Thank you.
Do we have anybody online? Who's the second one?
iPhone.
Huh?
Don's iPhone.
Okay. Okay. We'll move on. Julia Fern. Morning, Julia.
Morning.
I believe you have a copy of a contract. from-
do.
It's that time of year. The current grant year ends September 29th, so the new grant year will start September 30th. Gotta love a federal grant year. The contract terms are the same. The only thing that's changed is the numbers for the financial part, insurance and salary increases. This would be for the last year of the 5 years. We'll be applying for years 6 to 10 in January.
So, and what were the increases?
It's in the salary stuff.
Yeah, do you know what the percentages were, Julie?
I do not. Insurance
And this-
increases the budget. Well, it went way down last year because it's me. And I went from a family to a single insurance plan. So that went down like $9,000. It went, and it went up this year because insurance is gonna go up. I don't
So
know
when
the
does it,
percentage.
what year does the grant run out? 23?
23, September 29th, 23.
So that's the fiscal year. They go from September to September.
Yeah, and it's September 29th is the last day, not the 30th. It's September 29th, and the grant year starts on September 30th federally.
Okay, and when will we know if the new grant or the next application goes through?
Oh, it's the federal government, kind of at their whim. Some years they announce in August for September, and some years they announce in October for September.
So we won't know when we vote. How do you plan for? I
Well,
guess we either get it or we don't. Huh?
yeah, and if not, then we'll just keep moving forward another direction.
So just so everyone knows that this basically is a pass through for us from the grant for this program, correct?
Essentially.
This is the fifth or the sixth.
This contract is for the fifth.
Than last year.
Yeah, it's a 5-year grant, and then you can apply for a second 5. And a total of 10, and then you're done.
I would make a motion to approve the contract as presented.
I would second.
Motion and second to approve the contract and authorize the chair to sign. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carried.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So we will be back in January because there's lots of forms to sign with any new grant application. So we'll get that together and keep moving.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Luann, do you want to do your portion while we wait for Sarah to get here? Okay.
Good morning.
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 Calendar for this week. All right. 5 o'clock this afternoon is Conservation Board meeting out at Prairie Creek for Larry. There is no Zoom option for that one. Out of the park. Also at 5 o'clock tonight is the Jackson County Economic Alliance goal setting meeting for Jack. Followed by their regular meeting at 6 o'clock, also for Jack. And then in addition to the calendar on the revised calendar is the 7 o'clock tonight is the Together We Build meeting for Jack out at Cornelius seat. They moved that from last night to tonight. Wednesday, September 21st at 4 p.m. is an ECIA executive and council meeting. They always have a group of meetings in Dubuque or by Zoom for Jack. At 5 o'clock tomorrow is the cover crop and water quality field day in Center Junction. I don't know if any of you RSVP'd for that. I thought Larry would probably go to that, but any of you can go. And at 5:30 tomorrow night is the Historic Preservation Committee's meeting at the Clinton Engines Museum for any of you. Thursday, September 22nd at 1 o'clock is the Eastern Iowa Tourism Association celebration at the Dyersville Field of Dreams for Mike, if he wants to go to that. Saturday from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. is the Early Childhood Iowa Baby Shower in DeWitt for Jack. Monday, September 26th at 4 p.m. is the Early Childhood Iowa Council meeting in DeWitt for Jack. The workforce, 5 o'clock workforce executive board meeting is incorrect. You can cross that off the calendar. But at 4:30 is a visit from Debbie Durham from State Economic Development. That's a visit from her at 4:30 on Monday for Larry or Jack. She'll be touring the Macokota projects, I think. And then that night at 7 o'clock is a Board of Adjustment meeting for any of you that want to go.
So the 4 p.m.
The 5 o'clock workforce,
Exactly.
that was canceled, and the Debbie Durham at 4:30. Is she coming to City Hall? Is she coming to the chamber office? Where is she gonna be located?
They didn't say, but I'm working on that.
They'll just stand at the corner of Main and Black. Hope they find us.
Pocket neighborhood thing.
Well,
No, that's
Pocket
not till the
neighborhood's gonna-
27th.
well, the next day, it's the next morning is the Pocket neighborhood for that. I will double check with her, but she said she's gonna be touring the Macokota projects.
Okay.
So I will find out exactly where she's gonna be for that. 9 o'clock on Tuesday morning, September 27th at 9 o'clock is the ribbon cutting at the Pocket neighborhood out on the west end of town, and we will have a delayed start to our meeting. We will not start our regular meeting until 11 o'clock that day. All I have for you, I have on my agenda, discussion possible action on the GIS position. That was something we were collecting information on, and it was, we were putting information to the end of August, and then you wanted it on the agenda until we made a decision on it. So that's why it's on there, is for possible discussion.
Well, I did talk to Jessie last week and told her that we would just like an update. And so she was gonna contact you and get a time to come in. I thought it was gonna be this week, but it wasn't on the agenda, so apparently they're gonna do it in the near future.
I'll ask her about it. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks.
This time we'll be joined by Sarah Davenport, Jackson County Attorney. Morning.
Good morning. You guys are color coordinated today.
We're all in the blue.
Sure.
I'm here with some unfortunate news. Shauna gave me her resignation yesterday. Her last day will be September 30th. She had some huge changes in her personal life and she just can't continue working. So I'm going to be putting the ads out again and re-advertising and going through that procedure. So I just want to come and let you know that. I don't really need any action taken, but I just wanted to inform all of you that
Okay.
that's the status.
How
of my
long has she
office.
been here?
2 weeks.
About 6 weeks.
6 weeks, something.
Yeah,
That's
she,
too bad.
she
That is too
regrets it. She wishes it wasn't the way it is, but.
She seemed very pleasant.
And very competent, and I was very excited, but, you know, she's gotta do what's best for her and her family, so unfortunately.
Okay,
All right,
good luck.
thanks.
Yeah.
Luann, do you want to call Elizabeth and tell her if she wants to come down early, we're ready, or Lisa, do you want to do your?
Hello,
we're ready for you.
I just need a motion to approve the minutes of the September 13th, 2022 board proceedings as written by Auditor Smith and authorized publication in the official newspapers.
Motion to approve.
Second.
A motion and a second to approve the publication of the minutes of the previous meeting. All those in favor? Aye, motion carried.
I need a motion to accept and place on file the Veterans Affairs Commission meeting minutes for the August 10th, 2022 meeting.
Is this it?
That's it.
Yep.
So moved.
Second.
A motion and a second to place on file the
Can I do
Veterans
mine?
Affairs Commission meeting minutes. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carried.
That's all that I have for the board today.
This time we'll recess until we're joined by Elizabeth Township. This time we're reconvening and we're being joined by Elizabeth Townsend, our Jackson County Health Administrator. Good morning.
Good morning. So I am here to ask for a public hearing. So we have, and actually I apologize because I sent an email out mentioning ordinance number 74. Please disregard that, but this does not involve that at all.
So it's just ordinance 69, is that?
Yes. Yep. So 74 is for well plugging. So we are looking to do, so basically a year ago, the DNR came to us with a revised 28E agreement that we have with them. It allows us to go in and do the permitting for private wells. So we do this under the DNR. So this is an updated 28E agreement that we received from them. And I sent it to our county attorney for review, and she recommended that we update our well ordinance. So, because I was kind of new, I just took my time, waited. I was contacted by the DNR about 6 weeks ago, and they asked us to kind of get the ball rolling on this. So that's what we did. And I actually asked them for some sample ordinances. But basically what this ordinance is it's going to allow us to follow Iowa chapter 49 and 38. And so any changes that would occur with either one of those, this new revised ordinance will allow us to just follow those as the changes are made. So once we put this in place, it will allow us to move forward with the 28E agreement that they sent to us. And the changes in that 28E agreement are how we permit wells near contaminated sites in the county. So any well that would be with, so basically the difference is when we permit a well, I go in and check to see the distance from that contaminated site. If it is near a contaminated site, it gets sent off to the DNR. They review it and then eventually they bring it back to us. Currently, the way we are doing it, we do not do that at all. So this is something they require. If we don't do it, then essentially we wouldn't be able to permit wells anymore until this is taken care of.
So do we have a record of the contamination areas in the county?
Yeah, so there is a special site that I would go on and check those list areas.
Well, we certainly need to keep up with the regulations so
Yeah.
that as they change, and if we were behind, we need to catch up. Do you think, in your opinion, that this will do anything to any of the sites in Spruce Creek area?
I mean, the most it would do is just, so if it's near a lost site, it's just going to take longer for that individual to get that permit. So the work currently, I mean, people get the turnover time to get a permit for a well is very quick. I mean, I get the application usually from the well driller within, short amount of time. And that same week I'm out to do the site assessment and make sure that, setbacks are met. And then the permit is issued within a few days. This is going through the DNR if it's near a less site, so it could take longer, which is out of our control. And I mean,
So are there any less sites in that area?
there are, I mean, there's less sites here and there throughout the county, but there's not a lot of them.
But in relation to Spruce Creek?
I would have to open up the map. I honestly have not, I mean, because we have not been following this, I have not really been doing, I haven't been checking the less sites, because we just didn't have that as part of our process. So, I mean, I would be happy to, I guess, pull up the less sites that I can identify that are somewhat large and bring them back to you so that you kind of know.
Well, I'd like just confirmation so we don't hit another bump in the road here.
So
Oh, right, yeah.
I guess I would like to talk about that a little bit, but first we'll finish up what you got going on here. I think this is, the way this is spelled out here, as far as the outline and procedure, is very defined of how it works, step by step, and I think that's a good thing, that everybody knows,
Mhm.
this is what happens. I mean, yeah, we could come down in that process or in that procedure, we could knock down the timeframe. I mean, are we at the mercy of the DNR then? Is that?
So if it is within a contaminated site, then it just gets, I mean, they have a process. If you look at. There's a little handout. So the new, so the procedure, I mean, they don't give a time. But there's a step, step-by-step procedure
Right.
here,
Mhm.
that we would just have to follow. Let's see here.
The only site I can think of is the old landfill.
So they say it's expected to take 14 to 28 days,
Okay,
Okay. that's
which is
reasonable.
not bad. I mean, some
No.
permits take about a month, so it shouldn't be.
and I would guess the longer time frame it would be if there is an issue,
Right, which, I mean, I don't foresee there being one. A lot of the lust sites are actually like in areas where they already have a public water supply.
Yeah.
So,
Okay,
yeah, like I know there's one in Preston, and it was already reviewed and we already know that everybody within that area has public water supply, so.
so back 50 years ago when I was working in that area, there was a landfill. What the heck was that? Remember, Mike? There's across from the pipeline company, and I don't know what's there now, Stein's Logging, I think.
Okay.
There was a landfill on the other side of that. which
In
is-
Bellevue, you mean, north of town?
Yeah, mhm.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, that was a big one. I mean, they dumped a lot of stuff in that, over that. bank.
Well, we certainly won't get into a situation where we can't get well permits, so we have to follow the regulations.
Right.
So, I mean, it's not something that, so is there a local DNR?
Yeah, so we have a local field office that we work with specifically.
How local are we talking?
They're north of us, like maybe 45 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So somebody or someone comes on site.
Right, so the individuals from that field office come down and they would assist us. And then we also work with Eric Day with the state, he's at the higher level, the DNR, and he's also very full of knowledge and able to help us, so.
So are you wanting action taking separately on all these items or?
I mean, it's however you want. I mean, it doesn't really matter. They all kind of go together. So the policy is gonna go with obviously our ordinance.
And this will take off our county ordinance.
Yeah, so this will
Just
remove
delete it.
ordinance number 69.
69.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So I would make a motion to approve the well ordinance, the well policy and the well 28E agreement as presented.
Don't we have to have a
We
public
we have
hearing?
to have a public
Oh, we do
hearing.
have
Yeah,
to
we have to set the
Yeah.
public hearing.
So, and I talked to Sarah about that. She said we can approve the other things today if we want to. If you want to, today you can, and then just wait on the ordinance, or you can do them all together.
Which would be best for you?
I think we should do them all together just to be sure that it's gonna go through, because I
Okay.
don't want something to go through that's not.
Okay.
Is this 4 and 10 or?
It's 4 and 20. The
4 and
earliest we could do
20.
it is October 4th. And we could approve the ordinance that day if you wanted to, or we could pick a different day to approve it.
So could we repeal the 69 before that, or does that make any difference if it's, we can't?
Well, then we wouldn't have an ordinance.
Lisa said no.
Yeah,
All right.
yeah.
So do we want to have it on October 4th,
I didn't see.
Sure.
I didn't hear you.
We
10
do it
o'clock?
9 o'clock or 9:30 to 1.
9 o'clock works.
Okay.
That's
October
my
4th
motion.
at 9 o'clock, that's your motion?
I'll second that.
Motion and a second to have the public hearing on October 4th at 9 AM. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Did you want to talk to me about?
I
this
did.
list?
So
Okay,
with your letter that you sent, that letter has been sent, correct?
correct.
Any responses, rebuttals,
I've had a total of 3 people respond to me,
positive, negative?
a combination.
And naturally, have you tested, is there other wells in question then or no?
So I haven't had anybody new reach out to me. It's kind of been the same smaller handful of people, and I'm not even sure it's like 4 people anymore. But I will be going out there today to look at one property, because it gets sort of complicated. You really have to be looking at all the surrounding properties as well. But yes, some people, well, one individual was very upset about the fact that they have to pay to have their septic system inspected. But I can't do a true setback measurement until we locate the tank. Some of these septic tanks are underground. I mean, you can't even find the risers on them. So without that DNR certified inspector coming out and digging all of that up and locating and probing for laterals. I mean, some of the issue we're dealing with is poor record keeping from the past.
Sure.
Or work that was done without a permit.
Yeah.
So we don't really know the true, length of a septic field in some cases. I mean, there's just a lot of things. So I really need that. I'm gonna rely on that professional certified DNR inspector to come out and assist with that. So, but I mean, so far, everybody that's wanting to keep their well and has been very active about wanting to keep their well, they have tested good on the water side of things. But we want to make sure that they've got a functioning septic system, which again, some people didn't understand why we want to see that, but I kind of explained that we want to have a standard, across the board. Everybody's going to be treated the same if they want to keep their septic system, because it might be somebody that is on a very small lot and maybe shouldn't be keeping their well, and then we've got the individuals that are on a much larger lot and they might have room to put in another septic system if they want down the road.
But if it's close to the neighbor's septic system, then we have an issue. So that they
Exactly,
should know that before they decide they're gonna keep their well and not go on the waters.
right,
And then it's gonna cost them X amount of dollars when they decide they wanna hook up. to the well.
exactly. So today, that's kind of what my excursion out there is going to be. This one individual does not want to have to pay for the time of transfer inspection if they think that they may not meet the requirement to keep the well. So I told them that I would come out and try to do my best to give them a rough idea. But again, it's kind of gonna be a challenge to identify for certain. But that's what we're running into right now. But I think, yeah, since the letter went out, we've had less people. I mean, truly, I have to wait till the 15th, which was the deadline. And then at that point, it's not then until I know for sure how many people are, serious about keeping their well, will I be able to go in and actually review. So I won't know until that deadline, and everybody that wants to keep it has the inspection, has their water test. Then I can sit down and look and say, okay, yeah, this is gonna work or it's not. Because if you have two neighbors that want to keep their well, it may not work. They may be too close to each other. So those are issues we're gonna be
So do
looking
you have a
at.
probe you use to try to find them tanks?
So I do not, I mean, I guess I could always become a time of transfer inspector, but that, would be digging up a lot of dirt, and it really actually requires equipment, like,
Literally.
Basically, all they use is a T-rod and stick
Yeah.
it down through there till they find it. but
Right,
They
right.
gotta have some kind of location.
yeah,
I don't know, some of these systems, if they have not been pumped or looked at in years and years, it's probably a good idea.
right, yeah, so we're requiring the inspection, which is why I'm gonna wait for the inspector.
Okay,
Because we want to know that, I mean, it would be pointless for them to keep their well if they've got a failing system and they think they can fit another system on there, but really they couldn't, I think people assume that they can, but
Well, it's definitely gonna affect the property values.
right,
If something changes on their,
That's true.
on their end, they need to understand that.
yeah,
They
Right.
can't even transfer the property if they're not.
exactly. And
If
I
they
explained that to somebody yesterday, they're like, well, my property has this and that. And I said, well, if you guys don't get the water in there, and your neighbors can't sell their homes because they can't pass the time of transfer, it's gonna affect your property value. Nobody's gonna wanna buy a house over in Dressler or Spruce Creek if people don't have water, you know, or maybe it would be the opposite, they'd want to buy up all the properties, I don't know.
I mean, it's tough to pass that on to somebody to read, look ahead, look at the future here and say, it's not I or me, it's we are a community here.
Yeah,
You're-
exactly.
You're a huge community, and
Yeah,
you're an asset to our community, so we want to keep it that way.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, we're really just looking at this as a, you know, environmental health standard and also trying to help that community. So that's the way I've been putting it out there for people.
You know, and I think they need to understand, and I think most of them do now, that Iris is not for profit, they're trying to help here.
Yeah, actually, you know, after we sent the letter out, I think it was very helpful because I got actually more calls from people saying, hey, I signed my agreement. Or I have my agreement where I need it to get it signed, where can I send it? So I think I've had at least 4 people contact me and, you know, trying to do that. So that was a good thing that happened, that we sent that letter out and we're getting that kind of response.
Good.
Yeah.
Appreciate your work on that too,
Yeah.
with them. But I know Iris is working hard on it, but yeah.
Yeah,
The time,
is
we're
simple.
limited.
yeah.
The time is limited. If the grant money runs out,
That's right.
Yes,
that'd be a huge loss.
yeah, I agree.
Okay,
Okay.
All right,
Thank you.
thank you.
thank you, Elizabeth. If Lori's in the office, tell her if she wants to come down, she can.
Okay, I will.
Okay, thank you.
I guess I can give a report on, we had a municipal league meeting
Last week I didn't know about, but anyway, hey, I found out when one of the mayors texted me that you're not gonna make it to the meeting tonight, and I said, what meeting? So we did have a meeting anyway, so ECIA was there at the Maryland League and they discussed the impact and, you know, other surrounding communities or Jackson County, Dubuque County of the Field of Dreams project, you know, that they're going, what kind of impact, and they're looking for input, you know, what you might need or what you, the smaller communities might need. So they give a presentation, and then we had emergency management was there. So we have, I think now we have 3 drones available to us. And they're practicing using it again, training situation where you have to be licensed and know how to operate, and they've used them, experimented with them, and so it's a big asset, you know, like some of these incidents where you can get in there and take a look without personnel, you know.
Yeah.
So otherwise, I forgot my binder. I had my notes in it, but I left my binder on the kitchen table.
Well, yesterday I went down to the Iowa Works. They had an open house type thing, and I was really impressed. They gave me a tour of the various departments. And the most impressive was they have these new devices that you wear. They're a mask, and they simulate either welding or whatever kind. If you're thinking about going into a profession, it will simulate what that is on a screen, and you have this headset on and these goggles on, and you use your hands to try to do what they tell you to do, and it's on the screen. And when I was there was one of the teachers from North Scott High School was there, and he was doing some welding, and it was amazing. And then
Does it simulate the burns that fly back?
I didn't see any of those, but our workforce group bought these, and they were very, very expensive, but it gives those that are looking for employment or changing jobs, it gives them an idea of what's available.
Did you lay down a good bead?
Huh?
When you put the glasses on, the goggles on, did you lay down a good welding bead?
I did not put them on.
Welding's not in your next.
The teacher was from North Scott, but it was, and they really, and the thing that impressed me the most is they have an area for handicapped and mentally handicapped individuals, and they were telling me some of their success stories, and they said this one gal, she was functional, but she just had some difficulties, and she ended up, opened a coffee house, And she's very successful down in the Quad Cities, and she has several individuals that are handicapped that are working for her. And they do have funds that they can help, like buy tables or whatever. And if they're starting any kind of a business, there is startup money for them.
Wow.
And I was really impressed with that. And there was I was amazed, there were a lot of people there. Either applying for jobs or working on the computer and helping, they were helping them build their resume. And she said that they have these at least 3 times a year down in, and then they also have them at the Burlington office too. But I was really impressed. I'd been there before, but and in fact, the woman that took me on my tour, she says, well, I live in Macokota. Her last name was Collins. And anyway, it was a great tour, and Miranda was there. I ran into her and she said, I said, here, I thought maybe you'd be here. And she says, same goes, I thought maybe you'd be here too. So we had a nice discussion, but we're still having a problem with workforce with some of the members not coming. So we decided that it was time to send letters out to the boards and kind of remind them of their responsibilities, and they are committed to be, because we've had the last 3 meetings we've had, we actually had to call somebody to have a quorum. So, and that's, we don't want to, we don't like driving to Muscatine and then not being able to take care of business. So anyway. Lori.
Morning.
Yeah, Lori,
Hey,
last
guys.
night, she was coming to her meeting and she said to me, she says, you're early for the meeting. And I said, well, I'm just going in to get my books for the other meetings.
Yeah, because we had a meeting. at
Yeah,
The commission
yeah,
did it. So that was a really productive meeting last night. We had 2 things that were brought to the commission by this department. And one was a text amendment change that just basically cleaned up the language for the application fee, make sure it's spelled out that it's a zoning permit and what that zoning permit does and why they're getting that zoning permit. So that cleaned up that language. So next week's meeting, I'm gonna ask to be on the agenda again to get that ordinance change rolling, because that'll take a few hearings and publications for that. Okay,
So
so
we'll see a draft of that.
yeah, I'll have it next week,
Okay.
or we'll have it sent, I'll send it before the meeting.
Yeah.
Okay,
That'd be great.
okay, so. And then the other, there was another text amendment, which was pretty much cleaned up. In a nutshell, was gender neutral language added. Changed a lot of the he's and his to administrator. And then administrative, change it all to administrator, took out administrative office. Changed out chairman to chairperson, just gender balance, gender neutral language.
yes.
That's all that did. So we did that. And then the work session that we covered was the proposed, it was the draft language for the Leisure Lake PUD, which is planned unit development. So we've discussed this many times. Leisure Lake is different. It has different characteristics than the rest of the county. That whole area, the lots were developed small, topographical issues. There's hardly a flat lot in there. So it makes setbacks difficult, to say the least. And with our 30-foot frontage and for front setbacks and 35-foot rear setbacks, it makes it really hard to get a house in there. And, our job isn't to make things difficult for these people to be able to build, is to look and see what do we have going on there that is causing this problem and try to fix it. So some of the projected changes in, like I said, this was a work session that the commission had actually asked us to look into. And, but, so some of the changes in that proposed ordinance change would be a change to setbacks. We are going to review some of the things that we presented to them. Also, I need to be setting up a meeting, an informal workshop with the Leisure Lake Property Owners Association board members before our next meeting for the commission, because they want them part of the commission, like to see the Property Owners Association at the next meeting. But setback changes, changing that 30-foot front setback to a 10-foot potentially, that might fluctuate. Is my stuff up there? Okay,
No.
I see Mike just staring there. It's like, wait a minute, I didn't send my stuff up to him. Anyway, so the side setbacks would stay the same. They're 10, and the rear setback for a dwelling would go from 30 down to 10 feet, unless it's an accessory structure. The
So-
other,
The association approves this first?
not yet, they have to, it has to go through them first.
Okay,
Yeah, we have to have their blessing on it, but I can't see them not wanting to approve it.
right.
I mean,
I can't either.
I mean,
and I
they
mean,
need to
it's,
adjust it every time they do something, so.
yeah, they do, and it's been a challenge for the people that are trying to do things right and seeking out a zoning permit. And then I have to look at them and say, sorry, that isn't gonna work. I mean, especially the ones that are trying to put an accessory structure on a lot without a principal structure, which this ordinance change would address, where they would be allowed to have that accessory building not on the same lot or same parcel of land where their principal structure is. And then too, there's so many of them out there that'll pull their camper out for the season and they need that accessory structure. I mean, they're not hauling their grill back all the time. They're not hauling their side by side, their lawn mowing equipment. They're not hauling that. They do need a place to store that, even if they're, pulling that camper back and forth. So this is gonna address that and make it easier for things to happen out there. And then plus it'll fix some of those violations that have been allowed to happen for a considerable amount of time. And then basically going forward, I mean, it would have to grandfather, it would make the problems legally conforming. And that's when we'd have to really get tough. I mean, seriously, stay on those and keep it in their front of their minds that they're gonna have to get zoning permits to do anything going forward. And it should be easier to get that zoning permit
Mhm.
because it's making more things allowable. So that's a win-win. And speaking of, getting strict, if they don't, we don't really have a penalty process that I've found worked into the ordinance for those that do not comply. So I'm just planting that seed, and
Well,
then,
in the past, we did kind of talk about that with the zoning, but nothing ever happened.
okay, and we're not quite there yet because there's another issue that I want to address in front of that. And that is, and I'm gonna try to say this nicely. I don't think as a whole, we as a county have done a good job at educating our taxpayers about zoning permits. Why they need them, when they need them. And I mean, I'm willing to help with that. I mean, I don't mind talking to groups. I don't mind, and I even mentioned to Luann the possibility of trying to do a regular, semi-regular editorial to the local newspapers, even though I was just talking to a lady. There's an issue with a permit that wasn't taken. And I was asking her, how do you see us being able to get this word out, to be able to let people know about it? And the people that didn't have the permit, well, they're in their 30s. They're, they don't read the local newspapers. So, and they don't listen to KMAQ. So they're not going to get the memo. So it's like, how do we educate these people? And then there's two different kinds. There's the people that just don't know. And then there's the people that don't care. I actually had a woman at my desk and I told her they were ready to build. And I says, you're gonna need to hold off because I'm not gonna have this process till next week. We're not waiting for that. And I says, you need to wait for that.
Yeah, I mean, it's an educational thing and you're always gonna have some of that either, no matter how you do it. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if we go on Just Talk or if you go on Just Talk, but it's also is up to the public to have some responsibility also,
Oh, I hear you, but if they,
you know. I mean, if you don't read the paper, don't listen to the news, how are you gonna find anything out?
right.
I mean, if you go to the
Right.
coffee shop, okay,
Mhm.
you're gonna hear
But that
this side
only
of
reaches
it.
those people that are there.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, we've talked and talked and talked about, you know, how do you get to the masses
Mhm.
or to every household?
Right,
You just can't. Used to
Right.
be, some of the banks would let you put notices in with their bank statements. Well, they don't allow that anymore. So it's really difficult to get the information out because you're absolutely right.
Mhm.
They don't listen to KMAQ and they don't get the Sentinel Press
right.
or the Bellevue Herald Leader
Is
or
it-
Preston
Is
Times.
it something that we put a flyer out with something bold on it that says, you know, this or that, and we sell it, we send it to every resident? I know it's an expense,
It's an expense.
but I get it. But like you said, if they don't know or don't care, you're still gonna get some of that.
Mhm.
you know.
Yeah,
Didn't we send it with the property tax thing?
Yeah, but that's another year away.
It's another year away, and honestly, that isn't sent by, we outsource our tax statements. And then that'll go to people that are
And
outside of.
I don't know if
Chesapeake
that's necessarily
Okay,
proper way
Yeah.
to
I'm
do
trying to think of
that.
something that goes out.
Yeah.
but
Because
I'm willing to,
I
you know,
can see a bulk mail thing to every mailbox, but not probably with, yeah.
yeah, I'm willing to put in the effort to, you know, letters to the editor, you know, editorial column, even, you know, reaching out, maybe dropping some in, you know, seeing if I can get on the
Council?
editorial board of, maybe the TH even, and, you know, occasionally be able to, not the editorial board, but be able to place stuff in there. Because, you know, some of our people do, and, you know, those kids we were talking about, they're in their thirties, they don't even work in Jackson County, they work in Dubuque County, the bulk of them. And, you know, they might work at John Deere and they're gonna be talking, you know, some of the people talk about what they read and, you know, but anyway. And I don't mind talking to different groups, I'll get better at it as I go. And kind of know the talking points I need to do. But part of what got my attention on the violations, and Mike, I kind of talked to Mike about this one. I have 3 on one road, less than a mile away from each other. I mean, all 3 of them
Mhm.
less than a mile away from each other. And one is potentially in a floodplain, didn't get a zoning permit. One, I'm not convinced are meeting their rear setbacks, which could require an after the fact special exception. And the other one might not, might have needed, well, needed a permit or to hook up to an existing septic. So those are 3 that have potential violations on them now that could have been remedied in the front side,
Mhm.
should they have gotten the appropriate permits. And I'm not convinced on all of them yet. I'm trying to work those out, but those are some of the potential problems that I've come across with each of these. Okay, and you guys have been asking about Leisure Lake Property Owners Association, the violation letters regarding the nuisances. And my understanding from their secretary is that some of them have been sent out. Sounds like it's mostly the ones that did not have violations. And what they were going back on is reviewing the ones that they had identified as violations, because some of them are cleaning up. So the word is out that there's gonna be some changes and they're gonna be asked to be cleaning up. And so some people are ahead of the game.
And that's great.
Oh, it's perfect.
That's exactly what we wanted.
Absolutely, because it's not about getting people on violations, about getting compliance, and it doesn't matter how it happens. I mean, ahead of time, preemptively, that's the best. So we
So the
have
old
that.
rumor mill started flying around Leisure Lake
Yeah.
and they started, why wouldn't they?
And then
When
you
I
have
went to
a-
their association meeting, I said, yeah, we will gladly help, but you know, you are a community yourselves and you need to take care of each other. And
you need to enforce whatever you need to enforce upon your neighbor, you know.
Mhm,
Take
mhm.
care of yourself here, have a 2-day cleanup or something, or whatever you want to do, you have a community project, but just so they, you know, help themselves.
Yeah. One other quick question, I just want you guys' feedback on. All right, so I hear this from property owners. It's like, well, I thought my contractor did that. I thought my contractor contacted you guys about a permit. Ultimately, it is the property owner's responsibility. Am I not correct?
Mhm.
Okay, and so, and that'd be another point of education. You as the property owner are responsible for this, not your contractor. But I do have some contractors
As
that
long as the
actually
contractor
call.
did say, I'll take care of it.
Yeah,
You
Yeah, but
know,
I think
and-
we need to contact the contractors and say, this is the how you want it to proceed.
mhm, mhm.
We don't want them to tell that, oh, we'll take care of it.
Right, right.
It's the responsibility of the builder or the
Property
property owner.
owner to
And
ensure
not
that
the
that's
builder to make
happening.
sure they have the permits that they need.
And then I do have, a matter of fact, just this week, I've had, well, since yesterday, I've had 2 phone calls from contractors ensuring that the permits had been secured by the property owners.
Okay.
So that's always, that's nice to hear. In both cases, like, yep. Or, well, one was yes, and one was they don't need one. You know, because one was about roof and siding, so that's not gonna be required in our county. So, and I'd like to thank you guys, for moving forward on the administrative staff member. You guys, I can't tell you how excited I am because there's nuisance violations. I mean, I haven't touched Leisure Lake. And because my thing is I'm having trouble touching one and not all 50 of them. And that's how many have been identified.
Wow.
So I cannot go after one without doing them all because it's just not right. And that's the way my complaints come in there too. And I even talked to one of the guys, he's like, well, you need to do something about this guy. It's like, well, what about the other 50 out there? And I says, you know, that's one of the problems when you're working on complaint driven. It seems like there's one person that gets singled out every time, but the other people are, you know, cousins or coffee drinkers with them and they don't complain about that person. But so that's why I'm not doing a knee-jerk reaction to these at this point. I want to hit them all at once and still waiting on Leisure Lake Property Owners Association and administrative staff.
With that being said, as a county as a whole, we have nuisances pop up here and there
Right.
that we do have to address them.
Oh, we do.
Somebody complains about something.
Oh, and I would, but this is one homogeneous area
Yeah, I get it.
and you can't point at this guy when the next door neighbor has the same violation.
Talking about
It-
nuisances,
there
did you have
is-
any luck with the guy from Baldwin?
Okay, let's talk about.
There is a
that.
process though, if I'm correct, is we can't act unless there has been a complaint filed, correct?
Well, you guys have told me that I could act on complaints and I didn't have to be complaint driven up in Leisure Lake.
Okay. But as in the county, I mean, we've had other nuisances come and we've told them, well, you need to file an official
Yeah.
complaint, so we have.
And that's something as we get moving, if we want to see about expounding on that, we can. Because there is another little homogeneous area in the county that could be addressed in bulk also, but not right now.
You're not talking about Green Island, though.
Oh, well, it does start with Green Island. But that would be another area that, you know, you wouldn't want to address one neighbor without addressing them
Oh,
all.
absolutely not.
Mhm.
So that's where I'd want to be on that. I want to hit it all at once.
And
And,
that's being addressed too with sewer and water systems down there.
okay,
So there's stuff. A lot of stuff going on there.
okay. And addressing your question about the and I don't know if you guys know that there was somebody that had knocked a house in, dropped it in the basement and was gonna burn it. Well, not everybody knows this, and I know I've even talked to some people I would have thought knew the answer and didn't really. So when this came to my desk yesterday and Sheriff Kilberg was there, I made a phone call to the DNR up in Manchester and told them the situation. The situation is house knocked in, they want to burn it. And they're like, oh no, that can't be done. At all,
Shingles and everything.
everything.
Mhm.
But at the same time, the only time you can do a burn like that is a fire training burn by the fire department. And it must be permitted, and there's certain mitigation factors that have to be in place with asbestos and just testing the shingles to make sure they're not asbestos
Mhm,
shingles, any layers on them, and it has to be a permit. There's the other time that you can burn is if it's an ag-related building on ag property, and that farmer, that ag person has actually went through the permit process with DNR. And going back to that one in Baldwin, even though they've had it knocked into the foundation and can't burn it, you can't bury it either.
So you go in there with the grabber and just load it up and all up to the landfill.
Yeah, and it would have been easier to knock it down and load it up right then instead of that way. But that, so, there's a lot of, and then to bringing that up, our ordinance does not go into that, which maybe that needs to be something that needs to be
Spelled out.
addressed.
Yeah.
And then, I did talk to them about that yesterday, about public relations and public education. And they said, if we wanted to run a, do an article with the local newspaper, not now, Mary, I'm busy. They'd be more than happy to provide information. And then also they'd be willing to come and talk to fire departments about the DNR laws regarding this.
Yeah, I think it's any more information that we could get out there is, if nobody's gonna read it, so be it, but I guess we tried,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's out
They're
there.
willing to, if they're willing to put an article and say this is the do's and the don'ts.
But then again,
Again, most people don't know.
but then getting into like the fire departments, I think could be beneficial, with DNR.
Well, they do a
talking.
lot, a
Oh,
fair
yeah.
amount of
Well-
houses and training, and they'll train in them before they burn them, they'll start them and put them out, I mean, they do. a fair
And they
amount
get
of
the
that.
permits, but
Yeah.
what I was gonna say, Mike, were you on the fire department?
20 years.
Mike, did anyone ever call you and ask you about certain things? It's like,
In what
Mike,
respect?
I have a house I wanna burn.
Oh, no, well, I would never get out information like that.
Okay.
Because
Yeah.
if I didn't know.
Right.
yeah, I
And
would've.
some people think they know because it's common practice. It's like, oh, so-and-so just tore one down and burned it, took it out to
Oh, yeah,
burn
I
it.
mean, yeah.
So, I mean, common practice comes
And
from
it comes back,
dictates,
just like you said, Leisure Lake, they don't care.
well, could be.
Absolutely, is. I
And
know
the
that.
one that Jack was just talking about, that you should have heard the lady yesterday, she was kind of comical. She's like, well, yeah, there would be a fine, and it's kind of a big fine. And then if they were told no and went ahead and did it anyway, it would add to the compound problem for them. Let's put it that
I
way.
mean, yeah, I mean, at some point, I suppose you look at criminal charges,
Yeah, and it was administrative though, she said.
Yeah.
She said it would be, so I don't know how that would get to what they needed to do, but no, just, there's a lot of things that we could
There are a lot of,
work.
I
on.
didn't know,
Yeah.
I didn't know.
See, we're learning about, I didn't know.
Yeah.
Yes, we
Well,
are.
We don't know.
Every day.
20 years ago, I was married to an, I don't know, well, I was still married to him. But when we were gonna build our garage, I was like, we're gonna need a permit for that. Oh, no, we don't, we're ag. Well, we're zoned ag, but we're certainly not a farm, and we're certainly not, but so I was really glad the day that I went and talked to Dave Manning, and he's like, yeah, you not only need a permit, you're gonna need a variance
Hmm.
on the setbacks, so.
Better than
anyway.
having to tear it down after you build it.
Oh, yeah. So, but yeah, and that was one of those, here's a guy that's lived in the county his whole life
Mhm.
and worked for the county. And, a county employee that didn't know the rules. So, but anyway. Any questions for me?
No, just thanks for all your efforts.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and I'll be back next week
Okay, we'll be here.
with,
Something else on building codes. There is a uniform building code
yes,
for the United States of America,
oh,
and that does include like the town of Macocota, because I've heard that from Macocota. Well, Macocota doesn't have any building codes. We don't have to follow any. It's like, oh no.
Yeah, because there's Iowa building codes
Yes,
too.
and I will
And don't they have to come back to the Iowa building code
probably.
versus the United States
Yeah.
building code? Okay, and that's one, but we don't enforce those because we don't have inspections as far as the county.
Mhm.
And that's just another can of worms that you guys probably don't want to get into at this
right now.
point.
I mean, I had a
No.
guy, he had an upstairs apartment in DeWitt, and he says, well, I need a new set of stairs up there, and they were just like straight up. And they stopped, and the door was right there, and the door swung out. I'm like, how the hell you open the door without falling down steps? Well, I says it needs a landing halfway up because it's going too far, and I told him what the code was. Well, I don't care, they're just, I'm like, how the hell can you rent something else like that? I think.
Mhm. And you don't put your name on that.
I didn't, I walked away from it.
Mhm.
But, you can't just do stupid stuff,
Mhm.
and they think they can get away with it because somebody told them there's no building codes.
Mhm. Yeah, but state of Iowa and you got a license there.
I heard you stress, I think, a zoning permit, not a building permit, right?
That is correct. Because basically what we are looking at is to make sure they're meeting the zoning requirements, so which would include the height restrictions, the setbacks. And the type of building they're building and the use they're building it for, does that fit it within that zoning district? And then also part of our zoning ordinance ensures that they've, and I'm gonna quote this because I've kind of seen it a few times, but on the well and septic, that application has been made and the compliance has been identified. It doesn't say that they have to have the permit finalized. Basically, it just says that it's applied for, and basically the health department has identified that compliance has been identified. And then that the secondary roads has approved the entrance permit. So those are the things we look for when we're approving those permits. The zoning permit.
Gonna be in your office
That's right.
today?
Yeah.
Okay.
Mostly.
Okay.
Why am I in trouble?
Just that.
Okay, all right,
Thank you, Lori.
yeah, thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, any other boards or commissions that anybody needs to report on? We did have our mental health disability service meeting yesterday, and Lynn wasn't able to be there because they were having CIT training here. And Lori said that it went really, really, really well for law enforcement. And that was the first one for our mental health region that they had that training.
It's all week.
Huh?
It's all week.
Yeah. So anyway, Lynn is going to come next week and discuss some different things. And Limestone Bluffs met last week. We met out at the interpretive center. And our new administrator, Stephanie's really doing a great job. And we had a new member from Dubuque. And he came up to me and says, "You're Jack, aren't you?" I said, "Yep." He used to work for ECIA.
Oh.
And he said, I can't think of his first name. Anyway, he said he used to do work for them, and he said he did some work in Jackson County, but he didn't look the least bit familiar to me. Anyway, it was just basically our annual meeting, and talked about some different things, and she showed us the video that they put together about RCND and talked about the Macocota watershed, and that video the kids did is wonderful.
That's nice.
It's absolutely wonderful.
I started watching that, I'm thinking, this is, and I'm like, that voice sounds so familiar though. It was Aaron talking on it, and, but they're flying over the Lake Delhi Dam, and I mean, there's some pretty cool shots in there.
Oh, yeah. it's really, really, really nice. It makes the Macocata River really look beautiful. I mean, it is beautiful, but it really shows it off.
And is this online or
Yes.
something that was sent to us, or did I miss
Yeah,
something?
actually, it should be on the Macocata Watershed Authority,
Yeah.
website.
But it's really, really nice, and it doesn't take maybe 3 or 4 minutes,
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
but it shows all the way down where the river starts, where it ends into the Mississippi, and but some great canoeing scenes and the rapids up at Manchester,
It's
and
not on our website though, as far as link or anything.
it would be on it's on RC&D's too.
Uh,
Would it be on Jackson
so,
County's website?
oh,
No,
no, update on Welcome Center. I got a call Sunday that said they did some cleaning out and some brochure stuff or whatever they needed. So I don't know how we want to follow up with that. Do we need to have a work session to decide how we're gonna proceed, or do we want a invite? How are we gonna sell it?
I think next week we need to have a work session. I know we're not meeting till later, but I think we need to have a work session and
How do we
look
proceed?
at, what's the process? What are we gonna do?
I mean, if we are gonna put it up for bids, are we gonna allow real estate agencies to come in? Are we gonna offer a?
Well, as a realtor, I think you need to give us some
Well,
suggestions,
that's
because
my point.
I've never sold anything.
My point on that is, Jack, I think it's a conflict for me to do that and say that I think this is the way we should do it. So I think if you want to do that, I would invite other agencies to come and give us a presentation. What
That's fine. That's fine.
you know, I don't want to say, well, I think this is what we should do, but if somebody, I have no interest in pursuing it. So, I mean, if other professionals or local businesses want to say, this is what I can do for you, I think that's the way to go about it, or
And then
talk about it.
we also talked about just having people submit a bid
Yeah,
and look at
And-
that and give them an opportunity to
And I
raise their
like-
bid if they wanted to.
I like that idea, but I like the idea of realtors knowing about it and being involved in it, because they have buyers that are
Yeah.
looking for certain things. And if we run a little ad in the paper, it could get missed.
I mean,
You think?
I've had several calls that had interest in it, so they know about it and they know that it's coming. And I said, I'll let you know, but that's only a couple, 2 or 3, if you expose it,
Yeah, it's
you
to
know,
our
and we
benefit to
tried the
have
same
more
thing
people
with
there.
the pocket neighborhood. We were going to sell them ourselves, and it turned around that they interviewed several companies
Mhm.
and they picked a local company, I think, but maybe that's what we do. I don't know. So we should have a work session, discuss how we move forward.
Okay.
And each one of us or whatever have the time and ability to take a look and see what's there and give an opinion before the work session.
Take a run down and look.
Well, I'm gonna go down this afternoon. I want to see what really did happen.
Yeah, I agree, and he had stated that they did some cleaning.
I hope it's true.
Yeah, well, I do too. And if it's a case where we need to move things out and move them somewhere, if Marty has the capability of getting a trailer again and moving.
If there's some stuff that we just absolutely don't want. This is something we used to do when we were doing McDonald's restaurants. We just take it out on the curb and say free. And
Well, I
stuff
don't
would
think
just
we can do
disappear.
that along the highway. I wouldn't think. Huh?
As long as it's on our property.
I would be careful about, yeah. But if we want to donate it to somebody and if they want to have a garage sale, if they can get any funds out of it,
Yeah, it'd be nice to take.
I'm not interested in storing a bunch of stuff yet.
No, I'm not either.
And somewhere along the line, we need to make a decision on that table downstairs, if it's not functional or if it is functional, and either.
It's functional. I guess I need to be the one to put it back together.
Well, why don't you do this, Larry? Why don't you talk to Marty, because he's been involved with it. You and him tore it apart, I believe. Is that correct? And see what your decision is, and then.
See what the problem is, because he says it's broken and it can't be.
There's some things that are damaged, but I don't see it as a big issue.
The other thing we talked about our office space. Have we come up with a letter or a draft or anything like that?
I talked to Lisa about the details of it, but I haven't got anything drafted yet, that later in the day yesterday, so.
So we're just basically addressing their proposal. Is that correct?
No, I think we're addressing what you're directing them to do.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, basically, they
It's my
propose this,
understanding.
where they propose this, we're gonna go back and say, hey, we took a look at it. And this is what we
And
need, what we need to do.
what kind of time frame are you talking about?
Well, I think sooner than later, because if we're gonna hire somebody for a
I mean, are
position
we saying October 15th or
for the letter,
no to? I
How many
mean,
days do they have?
oh, do they have?
Yeah.
I would say
I mean, are you gonna give them the month of October and by,
probably.
okay, so.
Yeah, because by the time, you get
Well,
the
what day is it now?
interviews and today's the
20th.
20th. I'd say by the 15th of October.
So, yeah, I agree. But it
So
depends on
how
when
about
we get the
14th is a
letter.
Friday, well, I'm,
Yeah, if we get the letter out, in a timely manner, then we can say 15, 20 days or something, whatever's reasonable. I mean, it's a case now where they don't have to move any. Where?
No, they do.
Well, they have to get wiring into the district court, correct?
Becky's old office or Ben's old office, if you're moving the state guy up there.
that'll need wiring and phone.
Doesn't need phone, it needs wiring.
Oh, it doesn't need phone, okay.
Has phone from Becky and
Oh,
over there.
okay, yeah, okay.
Let's just have them yell out the door.
Okay, so the state wiring is in the court area, in that whole area back there though, correct? So it's really close, right?
It's down in the magistrate court where that box is. That's where everything they come from.
Okay, but they have it up in the courtrooms, in their court area.
Yeah, but it still has to come back down. So it doesn't help that it's up there.
Whatever it is, we still have to move forward, right? Yeah. So, yeah, whatever that time frame is, I guess, if, I mean, we need to approach them and see how they take it. I guess, and see where we're at, you know. I mean, we need to utilize that space somehow.
We're at least a month, aren't we?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
For,
Well, and it could be in October, but again, if we find hire somebody, we need to have space for. Or two people, whatever we're gonna hire.
phone.
My preference is to move magistrate court to the south courtroom and take over that area.
Which one?
Magistrate.
So when we send a
At the
letter, we
end
need
of
to
the
be
hall.
clear what we're asking them to do.
Okay, that's magistrate up here. Well, they made it pretty,
I know they did.
yeah, that's all, and Sarah almost said that too, that it's almost needed there, but. If we get the other two rooms, aren't we efficient enough with them too?
It was my understanding what you as a board had decided is that the current juvenile probation office, we would relocate them to, I call it the pop room or the bench office or whatever.
Correct.
That juvenile probation would go there. The question is what about the door between that office and Sarah? Are we gonna leave it? I call it it's plugged or it's, are we gonna leave it that way or do you want it opened up?
If they
Well,
need
they-
another
They
access
said they wanted it
legally, I
open.
don't know that they can pay for to do that, if that's the case, so.
Okay, and then it's my understanding then your direction was that Lori would move into the juvenile probation office. We would also need them to remove all of the office equipment. I know not the box has to stay. But any equipment, desks, filing cabinets and such, then that's where the new administrative assistant would go for the zoning office.
Correct.
So, I think. I don't think you're gonna get that done by the 14th of October.
I don't either, and
Oh,
I
we'll
also
just
think
work
that
it.
it's gonna, you gave us that quote for the wiring but that doesn't include everything that we need to have done, apparently, if we're gonna put
That was
state.
with- That was with moving.
That was moving
Moving
the
the
box.
box, so it should be less than what.
That was the big expense, was moving that box, because there's all kinds of wires coming into the bottom of
But
that.
we still have to put the state lines into
Somebody has.
the zoning,
That's the
old
question
zoning
is-
office.
Who's going to pay for that? Is the state, is that what you're requesting? Is that the state pay for that?
If we're providing the space, I think they have to
So that's what you need to know. then.
provide
Okay.
whatever they need in there, yeah.
Okay.
Isn't it, what we said, what I read was we need to provide some adequate space, and that's what we're doing. And they agreed to move up there, so,
Are you thinking about the other thing that just?
I mean, I'm here
Marty's
to
sake,
compromise, but we gotta make a proposal, you know.
Are you thinking, are you okay with the box that we know that we call the box? Are you okay with? Obviously, we have to leave it where it's at. Are you going to put in a false wall, so to speak? Or are you just gonna leave it where it's at and put no wall up?
So here's my take on that. If it needs ventilation or air movement exchange, I'm sure we can make some type of box to cover it. Just pick it up and set it over top of it. It's not that big. To still have adequate airflow, if that's what it needs, I don't know that. And if we need a partition, you know, can we move it at all?
Not very far, I don't think.
6 inches to a foot would help that doorway.
Possibly, yeah.
Yeah.
When the other would be just put up a divider partition. Just a single wall.
I get it, but if you could move it to, I would call it the south, a foot is gonna make a difference if somebody's gonna come in that door to visit. I mean, that box is pretty close. If I remember correctly, it's pretty close to that.
Yeah, so you're saying there's wires that go straight down out of that box?
But there's still probably some slack in now. They're not conduit or,
Hard to say. I mean, in theory, there should be, but who
Yeah.
knows? I don't know
Is
how
there a
long-
panel you could take off and see in
They're
there?
not our wires. That's not our wires.
no.
Those are state wires, not county wires.
Okay, then we look at the display cases that are down there. I mean, it's kind of an out of the way door into that office, you know how, so we have to make it more welcoming for people and more available. I mean, yes, the cases are there, the door's there, but it's so closed in with the kiosks that, you know.
Would it help to move that kiosk back? West. I
Oh,
mean, it is on rollers.
But you have.
There's only one cabinet that's really in front of that door, and that's on the. north
yes, it's
wall.
on the
Oh, okay.
south wall. Or north wall.
North wall.
That would
And
help.
there's nothing in it, so I don't know if we plan to put something in that, in them cases or.
Those
Is that
display
the one?
cases?
Which one has an open?
Usually the art classes bring stuff in and there's,
Right now, 4-H has got them full.
yeah.
And one of those has an opening or something behind it or damage to the wall, or do we know which one it is?
Marty had said,
But we're only
mentioned
moving
that.
one cabinet, is that correct?
yes.
And it's only,
5 feet long, 6, I don't know, how long is it, or wide?
we'll have to-
Yeah, we'll have to look at that.
I've got the dimensions someplace.
I would anticipate that the letter will go out this week.
and will we see that, a draft of it, or what? How we?
I will draft it, work with Lisa, and then I will send it to you. and
Thank you.
get it
That would be good. That way we can look at it and see if we want to add or subtract.
signed. And you're, you need them out of there by a certain time, so
I
you
mean,
can
we
do
need
the
to
work
be
that needs to be
Friendly,
done or
but we
not.
need to do
I'm not
this.
signing up for any work until I'm told that,
Well, that's why I
I
mean,
mean,
Well,
if
okay, well, I didn't know.
I think we're-
You told me you got by the
It's just
15th,
the
but
point
you still,
that-
they-
I
or the
think we need
31st,
to,
yes, earlier.
you know, if there's gonna be any pushback,
Yeah,
I mean, if they
Right,
push
we
back
need
and then
like
all of a sudden they got guys in their wire.
Yeah.
right, no,
At
that's
least
fine.
this is
Yeah.
our area.
I won't put you in the bind.
I can't get.
Send
guys
me
here
them
to
all,
sit
yeah.
that early anyway.
Okay, yeah, that's my guess.
and I know that I did visit with Becky yesterday, and she has started the advertising process for the admin assistant. So,
I heard it on the radio.
okay, yeah.
If there's no further business, I'd make a motion to adjourn.
I just want to throw one thing in there.
Yep.
Conservation, the electric bill is $19. 4 or 500,
Good.
yeah. And with that, I would second the motion to adjourn.
We have a motion and a second to adjourn. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carried.